Hello, friends.
Hey, mamas.
Welcome to My Invisible Disease podcast. We are here to share our struggles and hacks as two moms living with chronic illness.
Tune in and join our community as we share stories and experiences while we sort through the ups and downs of living with invisible disease. We are live. Okay, so this weekend, Jesse was home. And for the past couple of months, I've found that my husband's been like a super husband. He's been super helpful and like eager to like get things done. And this weekend he wasn't. So I couldn't help but like think like, has he reverted back to like his old lazy husband stuff and like forgets that like he needs to continue to pick up some slack around here? And it's funny because as I like look at like the overall like circumstance from the outside, it's like, okay, the guy just worked a 10-day shift, 15-hour days because they were in like super crazy mode. And he's probably super tired.
Yeah.
He just needs to like decompress. But then all of a sudden I was like, he can't take care of himself. He's got to take care of me. Like, isn't that such a weird perspective to have? Like, why? Okay, this is the thing. This is what actually happened. He took 4 days to do the dishes that he said he was going to do. And he's like, I'm going to do them after. I'm going to do them after. And then he did them right before he left. And I did not do them.
So you guys technically sat in mess likely for that 4 days, like the dish mess.
Because I wasn't doing it.
Yeah.
He was supposed to do it. It was his job. And then it just like, you know, when things become a thing.
Yeah.
So it's interesting how I'm trying to like be open-minded about it and not be like, oh, you better not be going back to being a lazy husband. But at the same time, it's like, it was just one weekend. Give him some grace. I ask for grace when I'm exhausted. Yes. So I need to be able to extend the same exhaustion courtesy. But I spent 5 hours cleaning a goddamn coat closet this weekend. So the least he could have done is the dishes.
I feel that there is a difference between, I guess, because my experience is a bit different because I've had my chronic illness for a long time and it's progressive. So it's given Ryan a lot of time to adapt. Where in your circumstance, you kind of got hit with chronic illness and it came on quickly and life changed, right? So you went from being like very able to not as able and needed the help, which was a big change. But in that same descriptor of the thing, when it becomes a thing, Ryan and I, a long time ago, decided, okay, it's not good for my health to get so overwhelmed with all the things because I just physically don't have the energy for it all. So he took on laundry. And I think part of the reason he took on laundry is because it was typically, I enjoy doing laundry. I enjoy folding laundry. I hate putting laundry away. So it would just sit nicely in the laundry room, but it wouldn't get put away. And
your kids don't go in and rip everything out of the nicely folded laundry?
Now they do. Oh my God. Now they do because they're older and it's like they're looking for a specific shirt. They weren't bad before, although he would go in there and do that. So then the shift happened and all of a sudden it became like not my responsibility. And like we have a shared partnership. Like he works from home too, which makes a big difference because he's available in here. But now what happens is when he's on laundry, about 6 loads pile up of just piles of clean laundry, which are now getting trampled on. The dogs might go lay in a laundry basket of clean laundry. And then they get dumped in the middle of the kitchen / living room area to be, and they don't get put away right away. So it's just like, it's become one stressor to another. And he was so amazing at it when he first committed to this. And now it's just become a thing. But the thing is, like, I also don't touch the laundry. So I also really am mindful not to complain, even though I am right now. But I just let it be. But if I had done that and had let these piles literally in our living space, hanging over the banister of the stairs is just like stacked shirts.
Yeah.
Like 4 different piles on the banister of different people's shirts.
Yeah.
It would not go over well. And, but because I have to, like, I've had to let it go for the help. So it's interesting because it's like you need help, but it's not always in like the most helpful way. Ryan is really great at like helping with like tidying the house, and like once in a blue moon when we need the floors done, he'll do the entire house, like different things like that. But I get the thing. Like it becomes a thing because now laundry is a thing.
I know.
And yeah. And I think you have probably a bit of a different experience to speak to with like relationship with a partner with chronic illness, because you've seen a change in lifestyle where mine's been progressive. So we've had time to like something that has really helped me is the book, like the 5 love languages. I read it eons ago, but I really do know that Ryan's like love languages are touch and like words of affirmation. So like when I'm feeling like things are getting like a little bit tense, I'll be like, wow, you did a really great job with that. And like extra lovey. And it really does, like, it navigates where I'm not able to step up in some ways, that at least I can make him feel loved.
Sometimes I have a hard time finding the things to praise. Like, wow, you did a really good job at letting Mackenzie fall asleep on the couch for 2 hours so she doesn't have a nap tonight.
Yeah.
Okay, but if Jesse listens to this episode, he's going to say, what the hell? Were you so mad at me when you jumped on this call?
But, okay.
I'm just trying to figure out how not to kill you.
You have to remind him, though, that this is part of chronic illness and that these changes are normal and natural, and that deep down inside, when we have all these other things to think about, these things do stir up. And that's not necessarily personal against him. It's just part of the game.
I also remind myself that I know that the steroids make me impatient. So for the first couple days, I was like, no, I'm not that annoyed. It's the steroids. Mm-hmm. And then on day 3 and 4, it was like, no, I am that annoyed, but I'm still not doing the dishes.
Yeah. It ended up becoming a bit of a standoff. I love that. Well, and that's like, right. So right now the laundry pile, and the reason I bring this up is also this was like this week. Now the laundry pile shifted from the banister to this, like the bench at the end of our bed. So it's like, there's a pile of his like shirts to be hung in, and a pile of mine. And I mean, like, I'm not doing it.
They're reproducing.
So, I mean, am I contributing to the problem? Like, I don't, they are. I'm like, how is there so many things? Every time we do laundry, I'm like, I need to purge. I need to purge. But at the same time, it's not helping if then I have to step up and keep doing it. Just like if you did the dishes, it's not helping. Right?
Yeah.
So it's like
totally
finding a way to ask for help, allow yourself to receive the help, even if it's not as you would do it yourself, and to be okay with it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Maybe we need to come up with like a code word with our spouse. Like maybe it's just like, okay, things have been piling up. Sometimes I'm getting very frustrated with you and I appreciate your help. But if I tell you that sprinkles or whatever the magic code word is going to be, that means get your shit done, because I'm going to do it. Yeah. I'm going to be mad about it.
Well, and then like, let's say, because he works out of town too, then with the time you have, it's not as productive, or, like the other ways of support of like, that the lovey-doveyness, like it gets in the way a little bit. And like, I find too, Ryan and I are both like, we don't fight as in yelling, but we both are really good at not talking. So it's like a quiet house. And when the house gets quiet, because I'm a big talker anyway, something's up. And it's like, and then it feels so isolating and not nice.
Totally.
And it's like, where really it's just making sure they're hearing what your needs actually are. And maybe it's like understanding how important it is. I mean, like,
there's definitely an opportunity to stop at Bone Town this weekend, and I was like,
yeah,
not interested. Go do the dishes.
Yeah,
we'll talk later.
And if circumstances were different, maybe that would have been different too, right? Yeah. So it's like, yeah, I know I did the I'm like, don't know how to graphic to get into this, but that was like, because I'm in the hot tub every day and that's just my thing. But I was like, hey, bud, like, what's going on? And it's like, everything's fine. We're so busy. And so it's like, everybody's tired, but it's like, no, like, okay, we're not connecting right now. But even then it's still, I don't get as much feedback sometimes as I'd like from him. So then I'm like, well, then I'll get all lovey-dovey because I know that like helps. I was listening to, maybe it was, I don't want to say it because I'm probably wrong. It was someone that was like a relationship, like psychologist or something. And she said like women, like the feeling of being hugged by your partner, like how it just goes like whoosh and like feels so good to a female. That's sex for a man. And I'm like, oh. But I remind myself that like sometimes when I'm like, I just need a hug. And I'm like, ooh, does that mean he just needs sex?
Yeah.
But it does solve a lot of problems.
But also, like, how lucky are you that you're so easily, like, all you need is a hug? That's all I get. And then, like, when it comes to showing up at O-Town, there's a whole lot of work that goes into that.
Well, but
men just have it so much easier.
They do just have it so much easier. I agree. Like, I think that is because women. Oh, yeah, because this was the kind of the analogy of it. Like, women need their intimacy first before they'll get intimate, and men need the like physical intimacy before they get to the emotional intimacy, and women need it the opposite. So often there's like disconnect because men aren't willing to be vulnerable and intimate because physically they're not there.
Right.
And women need that to get there. But it's a lot more work. Yeah. And it's a lot more work for women. And it's a lot more like we're often then having to skip our vulnerability and skip our need to service their need first to get what we want.
Totally.
But, to get that connection that I guess happens after because now they're vulnerable. Right. And it's like, if that's the case, we're giving it up at the beginning of our need to get that emotional intimacy, like after the fact. And I mean, I feel that for sometimes I feel like I have to like suck it up and make the first move or, like to keep things going. And I think too, because I sometimes on top of that, there comes this, because sometimes I also feel like a burden because he does have to do so much. Yeah. Like Ryan's 100%, he runs all the sports with the kids. Like he's coaching both of our kids. He's running around, he helps out with dinner and then I'm like, well, this is my only like, this is my currency. But then you think about chronic illness for some women that might have like endometriosis or like other physical things that affect them where like, exchanging that physical intimacy isn't available. And then
but also like painful or like there's a lot of things that can come into that as well. I do think that one pretty dangerous thing you can do is use sex as currency and like withhold it though. Like,
I get that.
Like
for
there's
sure too.
Definitely a part of you that is like, well, I'm mad at you and you're not going to get it. And it becomes like weaponized almost. But
I totally agree. Like any kind of withholding love in any way is weaponizing it for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. But all I wanted was him to do the dishes.
I know. You'll get a big reward if you do the dishes.
All I wanted was him to do the dishes.
Yeah.
So that was my struggle from the weekend was number one, not killing my husband because he didn't do the dishes, but also being like, oh yeah, I have to allow him grace as well when he's exhausted. And yes, he has been so great around the house and with the kids and like during my recovery, like fantastic. But this is like the first weekend where he like was a completely ineffective human. And I was like, it's okay. We all need to recharge. I had to make the conscious effort to be a partner and allow him to recharge. And
caregivers, it's when there's something like chronic illness going on in the house, it's not an individual problem, it's a family problem. You know, and problems kind of a bad way to say it, but it affects everybody. And caregivers often feel out of control and helpless. And then on top of that, it's stressful, it's changes, it's all those things for their life too. And they're worried about their partner, like the person that they've picked, you know, that's who they love. And so, I mean, I think we often forget that they're actually going through this experience in a parallel way. They just might not be getting some of the physical symptoms, but like, as far as the exhaustion and needing to recharge and those types of things, like 1,000 times over. I definitely, that's such a good thing to like make that conscious choice to like an allowing.
Totally. I just try to remind myself, he's human too. He's tired too. And then he was playing ball hockey and got slashed on the wrist and continued to talk about how sore his wrist was for 2 days. And I was like, is he trying to one-up me? Are you sore? Are you?
Yeah. Comparing, and that's it too, like comparing, because I've done that with like Ryan has had a sore back. And I'm like, I get flank pain on my, like in my back all the time. But I was like, but it's different because it's, you know, it's just different.
Yeah.
But it is easy to be like,
a tummy ache?
Yeah, totally. Like when your norm is suffering to a certain degree, like it's like, oh, poor you, you're man sick right now with a cold. Well, you know, I feel like this every day.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Oh gosh, that's funny.
No, it's an interesting thing. And I think this is a conversation that people, you know, that needs to continue just because it's an ever evolving thing. And when you're a partner, like, and I think it depends on the stage that you're in as far as, relationship wise, because then there's the whole aspect of like, let's just say you're in a new relationship and you have chronic illness.
Yeah.
How do you manage that? Like where is that line? Is that something you introduce to the relationship early on? Is it an expectation that, you know, this person is going to step in and they're going to need to, you know, carry a bit of a heavier load from the beginning? Or is it something that like you allow everyone to, you know, fall in love and then like, oh, by the way, you know?
Yeah. I don't foresee a lot of people put it as like their tagline in their Tinder profile. Like looking for someone who excels in cleaning dishes and shoveling driveways.
Yeah.
That is what I'm looking for. But I'm not going to tell you that. I'm going to make you fall in love with me and trap you and then tell you that you have to do the dishes and shovel the driveway.
Yeah. I mean, like, I know I told Ryan really early that I had like literally he knew from the time we started dating, but also because it's progressive disease, like I had 0 symptoms. So it was just kind of like a far off, very like, oh yeah, whatever, like, you know? And so now that it's kind of becoming more of a reality, but he's known his entire, you know, for like the last, not quite 20 years, but probably like 16 years.
I was going to say it's have to be at least 15.
Yeah, I think we'll be married 13 years. 13 or 14. I can't even remember. I'd have to go back and do some math. And then and then we were together for a couple years before that. So, you know, but it's something to think about. And I think it's a different experience for everybody. And then you're going to have times when you need more help and times when it's totally fine. And it can just be a partnership. But I do feel like when something like chronic illness hits, there is kind of a make or break of closeness that people like, because I think you're already analyzing your relationship with yourself, and there's a deepness that needs to be there to have strength, to, you know, be able to get through, and either your partner is going to step into that with you or not. And so I think there is like a bonding somewhat that comes with it. And maybe that's even just, you know, someone be like, oh my gosh, I could lose this person I love. Like, who knows what exactly it is, but it really, I feel like there's either a bonding, or for other people, you know, I don't know anyone directly, but you hear stories how someone will leave someone after like a major life event because it was just too much. And so I think, you know, often people that stay together, there is that like a little bit more like depth or closeness that comes with it. And I think that really helps. Yeah. Kind of as you move forward, because asking for, you know, it's not just surface level, and you can ask for help and not necessarily feel as guilty. But it is like, I mean, like, I think too, having friends and other people going through it is so important. So it's not always the topic of conversation with your partner either, because that can get overwhelming and
very mundane,
and become like the same story over and over and over.
It kind of reminds me of like the being on maternity leave. Like, I just found that I ran out of things to talk about because it was the same shit over and over. Like, oh, whipped out the boobs 6 times today, breastfed.
I'm exhausted.
You know, I did whatever I could while he was napping. How was your day? Like,
oh my gosh, do you remember the pangs of jealousy feeling when like your spouse or partner left the house and had like real adult conversations when you were home with a newborn baby?
Yeah.
Like,
and
you saw your friends?
Yeah. Wait, you got to go through a drive-through
and I'm trapped.
Yeah. I do think it'd be interesting though to take the conversation on like into our Facebook group and see maybe what some of the ladies recommend as far as how they ask for help without pointing out their spouse's shortcomings. So do you have a code word? Do you have, you know, do you just say it like, hey, if you don't do this, I'm going to?
Yeah.
Or how do they approach it? Because, you know, we're always learning too, how to navigate some of these tricky situations in the dance of being in a relationship.
Well, and it's almost a little bit like when the awe wears off, because everybody wants to step up at that when it's like new. And then when some of that newness starts to wear off and it becomes chronic, that's when kind of people forget or they kind of ignore and even with this fall back into old routines, right?
Yeah.
So no, I think those are really great questions, and we absolutely, I think relationships should be an entire, you know, section that we can have for conversation in the group. But what would you say right now? So given your circumstances as far as more of a new diagnosis, you know, big changes that have happened to you physically and ability wise over the last few months, like what would you say your hacks are for asking for help and maintaining relationships?
Well, this weekend, it was do the work and glare at him while I do the work and hope that my eyes are burning him. But it didn't work.
Yeah.
So my overall hack is to get a house cleaner to come in.
Yeah.
Every Wednesday.
And that's that honestly, like, I think we've talked about that too. Like, that's a compromise that when you're making everyone's life easier, sometimes it's not about money. And that dollar is better spent, even if you like, you know, I'm always like, oh, but I'm not making any money. Like,
I know.
Should I be spending money? And I'm like, well, honestly, maybe it's worth it.
Honestly, we looked at it and like it is a financial burden to have somebody come in and take care of that. And there's sacrifices that get made to accommodate for that.
Yeah.
But the fallout or the tension that the disarray causes,
it's not worth
priceless.
It. No, absolutely.
It like sell the other car. We only need one. No, just kidding.
Yeah.
But realistically though, like it costs a car payment to have somebody come in. And it's a big deal, but it's very important because number one, the house is messy. I can't focus. Mm-hmm. All I want to do is get everything done. Number two, he comes home and he's cranky
and tired. He's been working, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So for us, that is our hack, is we have outsourced a lot of the big stuff because we can pick up after ourselves and this and the other thing. But that's been our number one hack.
Mm. And I would say my hack, so Ryan would probably never remember saying this, but there was one time in the hot tub where I was just going on, and because this is where we have our conversations, apparently. Yeah. It's like hot tub conversations. And he said something to me along the lines of like, Jenny, like, it's not just your life. Because I was looking at everything from the perspective of how it affected me. Like it was the Jenny show, like this and this and this. And he was like, it's not just your life. And then it shifted in that exact moment. And this was like, I don't even know if it was like a year ago or whatever, but in that moment I went, holy shit, this is his life too. It was like, whoa, like it hit me like a, bag of bricks.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow. And so I try to come back to that perspective.
That's really deep for Ryan. I'm shocked that he's like interested.
He's a deep thinker. Oh, he totally is. But he's also not one to complain. He's also one to, step up and do what I need without, even if I'm asking too much. He'll call me out, but man, I mean, when I get called out, I'm like, man.
How dare you call me on my shit?
Yeah, exactly. So, he will call me on my shit, but it's not a pleasant experience.
Yeah.
But it did. It hit me like, so my number one hack is, I think, bringing myself back to the perspective that it's not all about me and it's not just my life, because this is his life too. And this is his life experience. And I want that to be, I love him. I want him to have an amazing life, and I want him to have the best quality of life he can too. And then on that, recognizing that it's my responsibility too. Like when things get tense or aren't running as smoothly, or maybe I need more help, how can I give in that situation to affect his life positively, so that when I'm asking, it's not just a burden. Like
totally.
But we've also had years to move into this. And like, as my energy levels have slowly declined, like he's slowly stepped up. So we've had lots of time to adjust.
Yeah.
I think it would be really different if, for going from 0 to 100. But I guess that's an advantage, but I'll share that as my wisdom of now dealing with it for years. Yeah.
There you go. There you go. Hey mamas, we see you. And we want you to join our Facebook community where we can connect and continue the conversation.
Join our private Facebook group at My Invisible Disease, because no one should go through this alone.
Thank you for listening, and check us out at myinvisibledisease.com.